Good morning. We hope we have all the necessary people on. I won't say important because everybody's important, but we have some people that are on the program, and we hope they're live with us or with us virtually, which in any case, welcome to the 2020-21 Maple Hall of Fame virtual, for the first time virtual, induction ceremony. My name is Haskell Yancey. Usually it's the job of the president to do this, but the president is out of town with a family matter today or this weekend. So they looked around the room and thought, well, maybe we can get him to do it. We don't know if he's the best at it or not, but he can do it. So I'm doing it. I have done it before, but I have never done it virtually. And I've never led anything virtually. I've been at virtual meetings, but that was the extent of it. In any case, they asked me to ask everyone that is not speaking to mute themselves and to move from there. Now, I could not do this by myself. First of all, Donnie Mosier, the president, put together the program, did all the work on setting everything up. He was even here the other night and helped get the equipment set up. So he deserves a lot of credit, and I'm at a loss with technology. My wife does the technology at our house. My daughter is here, who has taught virtually for a year or so, high school science. But most importantly, we have Jill Verkler here, who is in charge of, I'm going to date myself now, the audiovisual department of Beaver River Central School. Now, I say that, I know some of you remember when they used overhead projectors, carousel slide projectors, and showed movies on projectors with reels of film and whatnot. And in my day, it was blackboards, not whiteboards. So I think some of the inductees are in a similar boat as I am on that. Joe Verkler has another duty before we go any farther here. He's pastor of a church a couple miles down the road, and we're going to ask him to give the invocation before we begin. So, Joe.
This is Joe.
All right, thank you. And yeah, there's the funny part about before I begin the invocation with the AV thing, Haskell, is that teachers now take digital screens and try to make them look like a chalkboard. So we've come full circle. So I'm Joe Verkler. I'm the pastor of Salem Christian Fellowship Church in Beaver Falls, New York. I've been asked to do a short invocation this morning to begin this ceremony. I want to, before I begin, share the first verse of the hymn, "We Plow the Fields and Scatter," which is typically sung more in harvest time, but since this is the harvest time for this industry, I thought it'd be appropriate to share today. So it goes, "We plow the fields and scatter the good seed on the land, but it is fed and watered by God's almighty hand. He sends the snow in winter and the warmth to swell the grain, the breezes and the sunshine and a soft, refreshing rain. All good gifts around us are sent from heaven above. Then thank the Lord, oh thank the Lord, for all his love." And let's go to the Lord in prayer. God, thank you this morning that you are God in the good times and the bad. You are God in times of war and times of peace. You're your God in years of abundant crops and years of sparse crops. God, no matter what the situation, you are God. We thank you this morning, God, for the earth that you've created. And we thank you, God, that you would trust us as humans to be caretakers of that creation, to be a part of it. And this morning, God, help us to do that well. Help us to carry this responsibility well that you've placed on us. This morning, God, we're thankful for those that came before us, Father, that were good stewards of the land. We're thankful, Father, this morning for those who came before us that took good care of your creation and left it for us, Father, that we could take advantage of it and harvest from it. And this morning, God, we ask that you would help us to do the same, to be good caretakers of your creation in our generation, God, so that those that would come after us would enjoy what we've enjoyed and would have what we've had. And this morning, God, we thank you for those, especially those that we're honoring this morning, God, who have been good caretakers, who have contributed in significant ways, Father, to this maple industry. And we honor them today, God, and we just thank you above all for your creation. We thank you for creating a maple tree, God. And we thank you above all else for the gift of your son, Jesus, and the gift of salvation that comes, that we could all enter eternal life with you if we would but confess Jesus as our Lord and Savior. We give this all to you. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Joe. This morning I got here a little bit early, and I am in the Hall of Fame room along with Joe and several other people. And I spent a little time walking around the room looking at pictures and plaques. It's a pretty impressive group here. And we've got 4 people that will be joining this group today. 2 from what were intended to be inducted last year. And that's why we felt we should do this virtually, is because they've already waited a year. And this year's inductees would be due to probably be done today otherwise, but there was no way we could do it live, at least at this point. Now, things are loosening up. Of course, there's the border issue yet too. So the museum's been inducting people since 1977. I have been around not quite that long, but just about. Not quite day one and a quarter, I guess. And we would hope that the honorees can at some point get here and see where they are. At least one of the inductees will be going directly behind me, and I'm not sure where we go. We've got a couple of bare spots on the wall for the other 3 yet. So, but 2 walls are completely full with 2 rows each of pictures and plaques. There is a room above and below yet, and there's some room for the window by the windows. So we haven't run out of room, and we won't for a while. With that, I hope Richard Norman is on board, because he is going to speak on behalf of the Hall of Fame committee. And I assume that he is with us. I hope he is. So I'll step aside for a minute.
Good morning. Usually at this time, we introduce the people that are in the room that have been inducted already, but we'll have to bypass that until another time. But I did want to introduce the committee that selects the people that are in the Hall of Fame. And at this time, I will introduce them. Dave Sapesky. He came down here and got it for us. Dave Sapesky, Steve Selby, Gary Gaudette, Norman Anderson, and Arvid Bentley, and myself of the committee that have selected the group that are going in today. And so the only thing I'll say is congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. I guess we'll move on to inductees. Our first inductee is Mr. Joe Polak. I've got his plaque right here. Joe Polak of Merrill, Wisconsin, inducted into the International Maple Museum Centra Hall of Fame, May 9th, 2020. Obviously, that's not today. For his dedicated service to the North American maple industry, the International Maple Museum Centra, Krogan, New York. And I believe Dr. Eric Randall is on board and is going to do a biography of Joe, and then Joe will have time for his rebuttal afterwards. Eric?
Thank you, Haskell, and good morning to everyone. First, I would like to send my own congratulations to all 4 of the 2021 inductees to the Maple Hall of Fame. Congratulations to all of you. It's a pleasure and a high honor to have been asked to present the biography for Mr. Joe Polak as the recipient for the 2020 Maple Hall of Fame recognition. Joe was born in 1952 into a northern Wisconsin family that have always been involved in outdoor activities, woods work, farming, and whatever. He has made maple syrup his entire life, and now with his wife Barbara operate Maple Hollow, a maple syrup and equipment sales business in Wisconsin. His father John was a farmer and a logger. His mother Lena was a cook in the logging camp and helped on the farm. Joe is the youngest of 4 children. His 2 older brothers are sugar makers of their own in Wisconsin, and his sister owns and operates a gift shop in southern Wisconsin and sells Maple Hollow products. And we're not going to talk about the negotiations, what happened with the other 2 not selling products there. Polak Brothers Sawmill started in Merrill, Wisconsin in 1889. At that time, Joe's grandfather owned and operated a sawmill, a cider press, and a maple syrup operation, thus trying to keep the workers on the payroll and employed year-round. The mill passed to his dad, John, and 2 uncles, and finally closed in 1971. The maple syrup operation passed to his father at that time. Joe worked for his dad and purchased the business from his father in 1985. And added the maple equipment sales at that time. The name changed from Polak Brothers Maple Syrup to Maple Hollow at that point. Maple Hollow continues to sell pure maple products and maple making equipment. Joe attended the Heller School, a 1-room school until the 4th grade, Midway Elementary for 5th and 6th, and Merrill Junior High 7th through 9th. He graduated from Merrill Senior High School in 1970, where he was a member of the marching band. He graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 1975 with a bachelor's degree in elementary education and taught for 1 year before his father's illness brought him home to help with the maple syrup business. Joe's dad was a principal salesman and deliveryman until his retirement. A new sales room and canning facility was built in 1998 right next to the old location. New websites and online stores were started at that time. Joe has also continued to be involved in many community activities in the Merrill area. He is a member of Luther Memorial Lutheran Church and has held positions as president, vice president, elder, and as a sexton in the local cemetery association. He was chairman of the Merrill Area Chamber of Commerce Agribusiness Committee for many years. He's a member of the Wisconsin Maple Syrup Producers Association, has been president, vice president, director, and editor of their newsletter, the Wisconsin Maple News. He currently is a member of the marketing committee. He has held the position of secretary treasurer of the North American Maple Syrup Council since 2003. His educational background has been a great help in promoting maple syrup, giving the many educational seminars and classes on making maple syrup at county and state association meetings. He's been a member of the Merrill Toastmasters and is currently a member of the Town Schley Planning Commission. For Joe, being outdoors is still preferable to being at a desk. His using chainsaw and splitting mold is his recreation and his therapy. I'd like to add to his biography that Joe is the 4th among some giants from Wisconsin to be hanging there in the room that Haskell is standing in this morning. In 1979, Aidan Reynolds from Wisconsin. In 1995, Lynn Reynolds from Wisconsin. 2009, Norm Anderson. And now in 2020, Joe Polak will grace the halls of the Maple Museum in Croghan. Joe has, in his career with the North American Maple Syrup Council, initiated or trained or cudgeled or whatever 11 North American Maple Syrup Council presidents in nearly 20 years as secretary treasurer of the association. He took over the books and the secretaryship from Carl Vogt, also from the upper Midwest. Must be the secretaries and treasurers are moving east from the great frontier. He helped arrange nearly 24 international maple conferences, has kept the books and records for the 18-member North American Maple Syrup Council for nearly 2 decades. I've had the privilege of working with Joe in the field for over 2 decades, in the field, setting up meetings, and have come to realize that he really is an adept teacher working in workshops in the woods. I worked with him in the Tri-State Conference, in some outdoor field education in Wisconsin, and really is a talent that isn't greatly shown by to people outside of his area. It is his teacher's background and his gentle disposition that has served this industry well. I recommend him to this group greatly, and am really pleased to be able to offer my own personal congratulations to Joe on this signature event. Good work, Joe.
Wow. Eric, I'd like to meet that guy someday. Thank you very much. And should I start out by saying thank you to the Academy? I do want to thank the museum, and I want to thank the committee, Richard Norman and his group, for all the work they do, often not recognized for how difficult it is to keep things like this going over the years. I was thinking in preparing what I was going to say about today, I was thinking, I think 1961 was the first convention I attended. It was held here in Wisconsin. Then I was still in school, skipped quite a few years. It was the late 70s when I started attending almost every year. 1981, when Barbara and I decided it was time to get married, I said most any time but the end of October, so it was chosen the end of October as our wedding date, so I missed that year. But otherwise, I've been involved in the convention, whether I was actually planning, helping plan like Eric was talking, or just standing in the back and grumbling. I remember standing in the back of the convention many years with Tom McCrum, and we would talk about the fact that the meeting started exactly where it was left off the day before, or the year before, I should say. Those things have changed. The North American is doing a lot of good work today, and you know, I'm glad to be a part of that. I would like to say that I need to thank and sometimes blame my father for getting me into this industry. If I had to do it over again, I'd probably do it the same. It was my family that has always helped. My sister used to work in this industry with me for many years. Whenever there was a building project, both brothers were involved. When Barbara and I got married, she was a native from California and a teacher. When she came to Wisconsin, believe it or not, she wanted to give that up and become a part of this business. At that time, we were both working in the woods, and she learned what winter was all about. You don't just go there to ski, you do live in winter when you're in northern Wisconsin. But it was mainly thanks to Barbara that I've been able to do all these other activities and be a part of the North American Council, because without her support, I wouldn't have been able to do that. The other thing I would like to say is how much I have enjoyed over the years getting to know the people that are part of the North American Maple Syrup Council. People like Eric. I remember the first time we spoke together. Mike Gerard, who has, you know, become a friend because of all the times we've worked together. And lately, Winton as well, Winton Pitcoff. He's a joy to work with. The other officers and the other delegates, all pulling together to make this become a great organization. So again, thank you all, and I hope to be around a little while longer.
Thank you, Joe, and congratulations. I have your picture and your plaque here on the table. That's where it is temporarily. They will all go on the wall when the time is appropriate, I guess. Our next inductee is Mr. Ray Bonenberg. Ray Bonenberg, Pembroke, Ontario, Canada, inducted into the International Maple Museum Center Hall of Fame, May 9th, 2020, for his dedicated service to the North American maple industry. International Maple Museum Center, Krogan, New York. And of course, that's last year's date. And Mr. Dave Japeski, I assume, is on, and he will read the biography for us.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Good, okay. First of all, I'd just like to say I felt very privileged to be asked by Ray, and as a longtime colleague and friend of his. We go back over many years, extending it even before my direct involvement in the maple industry. Like most maple producers, Ray had his first taste of making maple syrup on their large dairy farm in southern Quebec with his brothers in the late 1960s. The farm had a medium-sized maple forest, quite similar to most farms in the area at the time. And when Ray's older brother, Art, took over, the family farm in 1974, he erected a sugar house and eventually was tapping 1,100 trees. At that point, Ray left home to study forestry and integrated resource management at Sault College of Applied Arts and Technology in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and has provided science-based information and guidance to his family sugar operation ever since. Coming home from classes during the March break or study week to make maple syrup was a highlight of Ray's college life. Lots of fun. After completing 4 years of post-secondary education, Ray began a career with the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources in a variety of natural resource fields, progressively rising to the position of Regional Director for all operations in Southern Ontario. In 1990, Ray was humbled and to be given recognition by the Association of Applied Arts and Technology of Ontario as his alma mater's most outstanding graduate. During his career, Ray was also recognized with many awards, most notably nominations for the Premier of Ontario's Medal for Outstanding Public and Volunteer Service in 1993, and the Provincial Amethyst Award given by the Premier of Ontario for Outstanding Public Service in 2001. Vacations were spent back at the maple operation of his brother during sugaring time until Ray and his wife Carlene started their own 1,500 tap operation near Pembroke, Ontario. That's in the central part of Ontario in 1998. That's a year that sticks well in my mind because that was the year of the famous ice storm that reached into Eastern Ontario and Western Quebec. Quite a time to get started up. With active involvement in the Ontario Maple Syrup Producers Association, Ray worked to further the goals and objectives of the Ontario Association, taking on the role of president of the Ottawa Valley chapter of the association, as well as sitting on the provincial boards of directors. From 2011 to 2015, Ray was the president of the Ontario Association, bringing in over $350,000 in grant funding to accomplish a myriad of initiatives to build a foundation to modernize the maple industry in Ontario. Developing an understanding of the financial worth and strength of the industry in the province was key, as well as initiating a robust process to develop a marketing and promotion strategy for Ontario maple producers, which saw launching the Sweet Ontario brand that's tailored to Ontario are but two of the notable achievements carried out during his term as president. Membership of the Ontario Association rose at the time during his tenure from 280 to 530, and the influence of maple producers was enhanced and strengthened with partners, government, and academia. In 2017, Ray was given the Award of Merit by the Ontario maple syrup producers for his leadership, dedication, and progressive approach to the maple industry. Ray is currently the treasurer and co-chair of communications for the association, handling government relations, partnership development, and is the media spokesman. In early 2010, Ray was appointed as the association's representative to the International Maple Syrup Institute. And at the time, we were sure glad to see him come on board. Shortly after assuming his role as an IMSI director, he helped convince the IMSI executive and board to update and review a compilation of the nutrition and health benefits of maple syrup. This work was launched and resulted in the creation of a repository of related research information, as well as informative rack cards and posters on the benefits of the consumption of maple syrup. And many of you, I'm sure, have seen some of this information over the years and used it. These resources were broadly disseminated to members of the IMSI and the North American Maple Council, as well as others. This material has been used extensively by maple producers in the United States and Canada over a very long period of time at this point. In 2011, Ray was appointed as representative of the Canadian Maple Advisory Committee. That's the Canadian Round Table as Ontario's representative. This group of 4 maple producing provinces, as well as major maple industry leaders in Canada, provided advice to Agriculture Canada on investing in international marketing and promotion, as well as research. A dynamic group, Ray has been a steady and participative member who looks to expand maple markets for the greater good. Ray was deeply concerned about the ongoing threat imposed by invasive species and led the development of a comprehensive position paper on invasive species on behalf of the international industry, receiving IMSI board endorsement in early 2014. A comprehensive high-level marketing strategy was also led and authorized by Ray, gaining formal endorsement by the IMSI in 2016. Having served a stint as first vice president, Ray assumed the IMSI president's gavel on January 1st, 2017. It was during his 3-year presidential term and under his leadership as president that a formal maple-themed marketing slogan for the North American industry was finalized, that the Standards for Maple Grades initiative was formally adopted in all jurisdictions, and a commission was launched to review the future of the IMSI. This involved conducting the selection process for a new executive director and overhauling the fee structure to help ensure the sustainability of the IMSI into the future. Great deal of work involved there. Ray and now his late wife, Carl Ann, operated a very successful value-added maple business for many years. And he is quick to point out that it is because of his wife, his brother Art, and key family and friends that this is so. As to his roles in the Ontario Association and the IMSI, most would share that Ray had a large and enduring impact on the Ontario Producers Organization, the IMSI, and by extension, the entire North American maple industry. Ray continues to work away providing educational opportunities and resources for all levels of maple producers. He recently produced and edited a 4-series set of videos for the Ontario industry regarding maple forest management for novice and beginner maple producers. The series has been widely disseminated and received and provides valuable insight into the many questions maple producers have in managing their terrific natural resources. Finally, I'd just like to say that Ray, for those that may not have heard, Ray lost his life partner, his wife Carl Ann, early in 2021. And they were really partners for life. And he chose to continue making maple syrup subsequent to that for the current production season with help from a few others, and to carry on despite this horrific loss. And it's just one example of the metal that this man is made of. Congratulations, Ray.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. And for quickly, you'll see my son down there, Darren, and my 2 little granddaughters, Amelia on the right and Clara. Did you have maple syrup this morning, girls? You don't need to answer. They have a nice constant supply, so they like that. I wanted to thank you, David. And David and I go way back. He's right. And we've had a great time together. And I also want to thank the nominating committee and Richard as the chair. Richard's asked me to replace Gary Godet, unfortunately, whom we lost last year, as a member of the committee, but it was after I was nominated to this exalted award, so that we didn't fix the books. So appreciate that. I was actually, frankly, very surprised at being nominated. As most of you know, who know me, I can be a little too frontal at times. And I thought, well, maybe I burned too many bridges, and I used to tease. When we talk about something, I tease Dave Chapesky and say, well, I'm never going to be in the Hall of Fame anyway, so we might as well go and push this initiative and see what happens. And so I was probably the most surprised one when it happened. I want to congratulate the other recipients as well. My buddy Joe Pollock, of course, from last year, and Mark and Tim, who are coming up. So way to go. It'll be awesome. And when we can travel, I promise I'm going to take the little girls down to the museum, and they can see the pictures on the wall and see the goodies there. So I'm probably the one who benefited the most from all of this, and it's been a busy whirlwind affair for sure. I'm a continuous learner. I love to learn, and I like to do things. And the maple industry has taught me a lot. It's complex. It is it's rewarding to work with people with common goals. It is it's about the future as well, and the future is exciting. The future has its challenges. There's no question about it, but it's exciting. And I always like to look at opportunities, and whatever challenge is thrown at us, I always say to folks, look, this is a chance to exercise an opportunity here and turn everything into an opportunity. So I really don't have much more to add. I've had a good go, and I'm still involved, and I'm slowly working my way back into that. So I want to thank the Ontario crew who has supported my tenure on the IMSI in particular, and have supported the many initiative both on the IMSI board and the Canadian Roundtable, where we've had to pony up money on issues that were important to the industry. Dave, who was our IMSI executive director for so many years, was huge impact on the effectiveness of the IMSI, and now Jean Lamontagne, our new executive director. We have a great relationship, so I want to thank both of them personally for their dedication. My brother Art, who's on the call today, has been a champion of mine, a mentor, a coach. I wouldn't be where I am without him, both in my sugaring life and in my personal life. And we're very close, and I value that greatly. And of course, I promised I wouldn't do this. My late wife, Carol Ann, so I'd be nowhere without her. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Ray. We appreciate the comments, and we are sorry for your situation. Our next inductee is Mr. J. Mark Haran, Litchfield, Connecticut, inducted into the International Maple Museum Center Hall of Fame, May 15th, 2021, for his dedicated service to the North American maple industry. This is the International Maple Museum Center, Krogan, New York. And Mr. Dave Chapeski is going to do double duty and read his biography also. Thank you, Dave.
Well, I feel doubly privileged to have been asked to introduce two of the four inductees this morning, and I'm very glad to do that. Mark and I have worked quite a long time together. He's a true team player like Ray, knows the value of collective effort. In 2000, Mark started making maple syrup in his adopted home state of Connecticut. After joining the Maple Syrup Producers Association of Connecticut, he went on to become its president for 10 years. During this time, he became very active in both the North American Maple Syrup Council and the IMSI, serving in a number of roles, and was elected president of the IMSI in 2012. As of this writing, so this script was prepared in 2020. He was IMSI Executive Director, Committee Member, and I know that he currently is a special advisor to the IMSI on request of the board, which is great to see that continuity, certainly for me. Mark was born in Watertown, New York, and spent a good deal of time on his family dairy farm in Hopkinton, New York. Now that's about an hour's plus drive north of Croghan. So I believe that's where he got his early exposure to maple syrup making. And their farm included a large, for its day, 5,500 tap maple sugar bush, all buckets. After receiving a BA degree from St. Lawrence University in 1961 and an MBA from Northwestern University in 1963, Mark served as a U.S. Army infantry officer, which taught him leadership skills that helped him immensely in his subsequent business career. Mark then spent 30 years working for General Foods Kraft, retiring in 1995 as Senior Vice President, Sales and Marketing. After retiring, he consulted with various food industry companies and co-led several startup companies, and that went on for quite a long period of time. In 1999, he and his wife, Kay Carl, went back to Mark's farming roots, purchasing a small farm in Litchfield, Connecticut, where they make premium hay and, of course, premium maple syrup. In his leadership role in IMSI, Mark contributed to bringing a number of very important initiatives to successful outcomes. These included the worldwide standardization of maple grades, resolving California Proposition 65, the added sugar issue, a thorough review of IMSI programs and priorities, the transition to a new executive director, and a number of IMSI maple marketing initiatives that were very beneficial, I believe, to the industry. Locally in Connecticut, Mark has been active in a number of initiatives promoting local agriculture. He served 15 years as chair of the advisory board of an agriculture science high school program, which includes a sugar bush for students, and co-founded a successful nonprofit, Partners for Sustainable Healthy Communities, that promotes sustainable agriculture, local food, and active health lifestyles in the northwest of Connecticut. Looking ahead in 2020, Mark saw the biggest challenge for maple syrup as differentiating itself from all other sugars as 100% natural and more nutritious alternative in an era where the consumption of sugars has raised significant health concerns worldwide. And I know behind, and I'm sure it's true of so many, behind the accomplishments of good men is a good woman. And I know that Kay, his wife Kay, has been a strong supporting partner, contributing her expertise into the work that Mark has been able to accomplish for the maple industry. So with that, I'd like to extend special congratulations to Mark Heron on his induction. Thank you.
Am I on now, Mark?
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, anyway, I'm going to make it short and sweet and to the point. I was pleasantly surprised, humbled, and honored to be chosen for the Maple Hall of Fame. I thank all of those who supported me for that in that regard. And I also have to say that you don't get recognition of this kind based on your own actions alone. Therefore, I thank all those people who supported me over the years, and I've worked with over the years, who have joined me to positively advance the North American maple syrup industry. And I want to thank you all, and I appreciate, and obviously I'm very honored with this recognition. The end.
Thank you, Mark, and congratulations. Our last inductee for today is Timothy Perkins, PhD, Newport, Vermont, inducted into the International Maple Museum Center Hall of Fame, May 15th, 2021, for his dedicated service to the North American maple industry, the International Maple Museum Center, Croghan, New York. And it's interesting that Croghan is seen as a location you would know that you can compare someplace else to, because we're always telling people we start with north of Syracuse, we go east of Watertown, then we go near Laville, and then we say Croghan. And by then we've lost most people. So Dr. Abby Vanderberg is going to read the biography for Dr. Perkins.
Tim. And can everyone hear me okay? Okay, great. Dr. Tim Perkins grew up in the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont, where he helped on his grandfather's farm and sugaring operation. In 1984, he received Bachelor of Arts degrees in both environmental studies and geology. His master's in 1998 and doctoral degrees in 1991 from the University of Vermont focused on forest physiological ecology and the impacts of acid rain on forest health. He was appointed to the faculty at the University of Vermont in 1991 and became director of the UVM Proctor Maple Research Center in Underhill, Vermont in 1996. His work centered on understanding sap flow in maple stems and tubing systems and the effects of a variety of tapping practices on yield, as well as the effects of tapping and sap collection practices on sustainability. Dr. Perkins holds several patents for various maple devices and practices. He has authored or co-authored over 40 scientific journal papers, written numerous articles in the maple industry literature, and has done hundreds of presentations throughout the maple producing region in the US and Canada. He was an author and co-editor of the second edition of the North American Maple Producers Manual, and is lead editor and contributing author for several chapters in the third edition of the North American Maple Producers Manual. He has served in different positions on several different maple boards in an advisory role. Dr. Perkins received the 2003 Maple Person of the Year from the Vermont Maple Industry Council, the Golden Maple Leaf Award in 2008 from the IMSI, the Distinguished Service Award from the North American Maple Syrup Council in 2009, the Sumner Hill Williams President's Cup in 2011 from the Vermont Maple Industry, the Richard G. Haas Distinguished Service Award from the North American Maple Syrup Council in 2013, and the IMSI President's Award in 2018. And I can say personally that this feels like a very understated biography for a man that has been contributed to research in the maple field as much as or more than any of our giants like Dr. Jones and Dr. Marvin before him. So it is a distinct honor and privilege to present this biography and to be able to congratulate Tim for this much deserved recognition into the Hall of Fame, to my very dear friend, mentor, and colleague. So congratulations, Tim.
Thank you, Abby. And thank you to the Maple Hall of Fame and the Hall of Fame Committee and the North American Maple Syrup Council. It's truly an honor to receive this. I was reminded not too long ago that the the Perkins family farm in Westmore started in 1938. And my father at the time was 6 years old. And that, sorry, that's about the same time that I remember becoming involved in the sugaring operation when I was about 6, 7, 8, first following in my father's and grandfather's footsteps, trudging through the woods, and then later carrying buckets myself and pouring plenty of that liquid down my boots accidentally from time to time. But I never really thought I would be involved in maple. It was something I truly enjoyed, especially sitting in the sugar house, getting the first taste of syrup for the year. Is truly a magical thing. It's hard for me to explain what science is to somebody who is a researcher. It's just a different way of thinking. I think our brains must be wired differently. But I was very fortunate that my family, my parents, recognized that interest in me and encouraged it throughout my life. And I had a lot of really good teachers in school. And when I got to college, some just excellent mentors who really encouraged me and challenged me. That was the important thing. They made me work. They made me think. And after that, working with some tremendous people at the Proctor Center is just an amazing place to work, and an incredible group of people, especially Dr. Abbey, who I've worked with for many, many years, and just an excellent partner in research. But really, it's my family, my wife and daughter and her family who probably are the only ones who understand that you just can't shut this off at night. It continues. It goes on forever. And so, for everything they sacrificed, that's really been what's made me able to do what I've been able to do. And so it's really thanks to them, thanks to the people at work. It's all a partnership that makes things like these happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Perkins. We appreciate it. Congratulations to you and all four. It looks like we might have pulled this off without a major glitch, which is not to my credit. One person I don't think I thanked is Eleanor Allen, who set up the Zoom meeting and who set up our Zoom meetings as a museum when we weren't able to meet in person. There is one thing that I have one quality that I think most of these Hall of Fame inductees have. We all started out as unpaid family labor when we were little. Now that's probably the only quality that I share, but I mean, it gives me some hope. Congratulations, your pictures and plaques are here, temporarily set up on the table. We would hope that you can stop and visit us. We are somewhat on the way to Niagara Falls for some of you, which is a little odd to say when you're from Northern New York. We anticipate that the museum will be reopening, which it has not been for over a year, the end of May, hopefully in time for Memorial Day weekend. We expect that it's going to be 3 days a week, at least for the early time, and then we will see how it goes and where it goes from there. With that, I thank you for your attendance, and I think things went fairly well. They told me all I had to do was stand up in front, introduce people, and then get out of the way. And I hope I succeeded in doing that. Thank you. Have a good day. Congratulations, inductees.